Snowden House stood like a silent witness to a history steeped in shadows. Its grand halls, once filled with laughter and opulence, had transformed into something far darker, a monument to tragedy. If walls could speak, their voices would tremble with the echoes of past horrors, whispering a singular, inescapable truth. History has an insidious way of repeating itself. It began on the tranquil shores of Horseshoe Lake, Arkansas, where the Snowden family built their legacy. But legacies, as history proves time and time again, are often written not in ink, but in blood. September 1996. A day that should have been just another peaceful afternoon was torn apart by the kind of horror that leaves scars too deep to fade. Inside Snowden House, 75-year-old Sally Snowden McKay and her nephew, Joseph Lee Baker, a musician whose melodies once filled rooms with joy, were silenced forever. They had been shot at close range, their lives stolen in a moment of senseless violence. The suspect, a 16-year-old boy named Travis Lewis. Investigators pieced together what they believed was a crime of desperation, a burglary gone wrong, a panicked teenager with a gun. But then came something unexpected, something far more chilling. Travis didn't just flee the scene. He set the house on fire, as if hoping to bury his crime in the ashes. As if Snowden House itself could forget what had been done. Justice came swiftly. Despite his pleas that he hadn't acted alone, Travis was convicted. He was sentenced to nearly 3 decades behind bars. The past had been sealed away. Or so they thought. But Snowden House was not done with its ghosts. Not everyone saw Travis as a monster. Martha McKay, Sally's daughter, was different. A devoted Buddhist, she preached redemption, compassion. While her family recoiled in horror, Martha leaned in. She wrote to Travis in prison, listened to his remorse, visited him, and did something that even she knew many would never understand. She forgave him. For 22 years, the world moved on, and so did Travis. And when the time came, when his sentence was finally up, it was Martha who waited for him on the outside. While most would have fled from the past, Martha embraced it. She gave Travis something he never could have expected: an opportunity, a second chance. She hired him to work at Snowden House, the very place where he had taken everything from her. Perhaps she believed that by rebuilding the house, he could also rebuild himself. Perhaps she thought that in rewriting his story, she could alter the ending of her own. But fate had other plans. Everything seemed ordinary, quiet, until an alarm shattered the silence. Deputies arrived at the house expecting a routine security breach. Instead, they stumbled upon a nightmare they had seen before. At the top of the grand marble staircase, wrapped in a blanket, lay Martha McKay. She had been stabbed. The scene was hauntingly familiar. The eerie shadow of 1996 stretched over the crime scene, suffocating in its cruel symmetry. But this time, the killer was still inside. A noise, movement. A shadow darted through the halls, a fleeting figure of panic and desperation. Officers rushed after him, watching as he leapt from an upstairs window, his body hitting the ground hard before he scrambled toward a waiting car. He turned the key. The engine roared. But the car wouldn't move. The ground beneath it, drenched from the previous night's rain, had turned to thick, unrelenting mud. Travis abandoned it. He ran toward the lake. A deputy called out, a warning, a plea. He did not stop. He plunged into the cold water, arms slicing through the surface as he swam further away from everything. But then, his strokes became sluggish. His limbs faltered. The water, once an escape, turned into an executioner. And then he was gone. Hours later, a dive team retrieved his lifeless body from the depths. Snowden House had claimed another soul. The final irony: 23 years after he had stolen her mother, Travis stole Martha too. But justice did not come from the courtroom. It came in the form of the lake itself. The same waters that had once reflected the grandeur of Snowden House, now swallowing the man who had turned it into a place of sorrow. The past had come full circle. A story that haunts today. Snowden House still stands, but its halls no longer echo with laughter. Its legacy, once gilded with southern charm, is now a cautionary tale told in whispers.